Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. Right, as I have been trying to spoil you guys the best I can with some rank 4 gameplay and many different videos, you guys have been spoiling me in return by sending in a lot of different rank 4s. And even as I speak right now, I do have quite a lot more of these showcases lined up already waiting. So if you do have an interesting, unique rank 4 that has not been showcased on this channel yet, then definitely I encourage you to reach out, contact me, and maybe you can work something out there. That being said, if you have been enjoying these showcases or other content on the channel, please do not forget to hit those like buttons, sub buttons. All that stuff apparently does matter. No, I'm kidding. It really does matter. All the support that I have been getting has been amazing and always is amazing. So please do carry on. So let's check out how rank 4 Guardian is going to do. So this is somewhere in Act 7, as we can see by the nodes. I do not recall this fight specifically, but I'm sure that it is somewhere in Act 7 by the adrenaline mechanic being activated and everything else around it. So let's see how he's going to deal with this old man Logan. So obviously, ideally with Guardian, the one bit that is kind of like on a skill cap is your ability to parry special attacks. Except you do need to remember which champions have unblockable special attacks, and the fact that Old Man Logan does have unblockable level 1. But let's see, does he need to throw a level 1 here? Yes, he goes for a level 1, so that gives him 7 charges here. And with 7 charges, that level 2 could potentially be strong enough to actually finish off the fight, I think. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Oh, now I actually remember this lane as well, where every time you hit their block, they get a charge. But yeah, there we go. Then that level 2 absolutely nukes down that Old Man Logan. So 350 plus K HP down in a single, well, level 1 and then a level 2. But not too much ramp up required there, definitely. Now we're going to be going up against Punisher. And hopefully, ideally, wait, is this the lane with unblockable special attacks across the board? Or I hope it's not. Either way, let's see how he's going to do against Punisher. So obviously, as soon as Punisher fills up that battery, he is starting to hit a lot harder, which is another awesome thing that Guardian has over there, is that he's just an absolute tank. The dude's armor rating is crazy high. And also, if you do manage to parry opponent's special attacks, then you can definitely get quite a bit of extra power there as well. But it is something that you do need to have like practice for or skill for, because it's not as easy as it sounds at times, because you do need to have that parry timing down on special attacks. And, you know, special attacks is something that we don't typically try to parry. Most of the time we try to dex it, so it can get a bit weird. But here that Punisher seems to be completely refusing to throw his special attacks. And if I recall, I had exact same problem in this fight. So here he did block a bit early on both hits, unfortunately, so he did not get the extra power charge, but thanks to a bit of help from synergies, he is at 7 charges either way, and that Punisher is down to like last 18% or so. And now he just needs to finish off the job. Obviously, he needs to be wary how many times he hits in the block of the Punisher, because that is how he gains those Furies. And I believe when he gets up to 6 Furies, if I'm not mistaken, then he goes fully unblockable, which is something that you genuinely do not want to happen. So here he's going to try and get out another level 2 from the Punisher, but Punisher doesn't, well, finally he does throw it. And another thing that I forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, this Guardian is a SIG 181. So when it comes to energy resistance, he's not quite all the way there, because if you know how Guardian SIG scales, then you basically get a huge amount of benefit within the last 20, within the last 30 signature levels. So he really is truly one of those 200 or no point kind of champions when it comes to his SIG ability. So I just wanted to point that out there. And let's see how he does against Professor X. Hopefully we can see some neat power gains here from parrying the special attacks. But Professor X obviously doesn't have the biggest HP, and that can be immediately apparent because he's already down a quarter life by the time he got to a level 1. Now he's gonna go for that level 2. Better get out of the way from this one, and only thing he needs to do is get to his level 2 in order to finish off the fight here. Come on, parry that projectile. Perfect. Got a bit of extra power. Sweet. It's always nice when you do manage to do that. The good thing about Guardian against Professor X matchup also is the fact that you can parry projectiles with Guardian if your armor up is up. And obviously that comes in handy just to get your parry game going easier. So this fight is against Lionheart Art Overlord X23. If I'm not mistaken, this is somewhere in either 6.4 or 6.3, so it is not quite as stacked X23. But let's take a look at how Guardian is going to be doing right here, right now. So mandatory level 1 to start with, pretty much putting that taunt up on the opponent, making them throw. I actually often kind of forgot that Guardian does have that taunt. And taunt is one of those sneakily useful debuffs to have access to as well, for sure. And obviously another way how to fight all or nothing nodes, for instance. Right, so he ideally wants to get that level 2 out of here. Well, to be honest, he probably can just go for the nuke. I don't think he needed to bait out that level 2. He just could have done that before she threw the level 2. It's always important to understand how much damage your opponents, your champions can do, especially if you're dealing with champions that have like guaranteed amounts of damage. Because often you can save yourself a lot of headache by not baiting out those final special attacks or dealing with the final issues that you might have, but just, you know, pushing opponents in the red with your final combo, then chaining up a special attack and taking care of it that way. But let's see Guardian go up against Darkhawk here. And so far, pretty much most of the fights have been a level 1, level 2, and most of the champions have been immediately dead. I do want to point out that Guardian does have a couple of synergies that really do help him out to ramp up his damage significantly quicker. One of those is with Mallman, and that's amazing because Mallman's obviously amazing champion that, you know, you quite often want on your team anyways. And the other synergy is with Magneto House of X that also reduces the time it takes for you to generate a charge. So both of those synergies put together often kind of eliminates the need for any kind of meaningful ramp up. And as we're going to see here, that Darkhawk gets absolutely nullified as well. There is something genuinely satisfying to be said when you watch like a big, massive level 2 an opponent's health bar just being completely emptied out with like a single special attack. Because you don't get that too often. Typically, you know, you do chip damage, and by the time you use special attack, you know, the special attacks do not have such a big impact, comparatively speaking, with your base damage. And when champions do have that massive level 2 happening with multi-hits and everything else, just a genuinely pleasure to watch there. So again, Guardian goes up to his 3 charges pretty much immediately here. So he's going to throw his level 1, get some extra charges. By the time he gets to his level 2, he's going to have at least 7 charges. I do think it's going to be 7 or maybe 8 if he can speed that 8th in there. But the 8th is not needed, and that gold pulse regeneration does not kick in potently enough here. So again, pretty much everything gets nuked down by a rank 4 Guardian. I do have to add, if I didn't before, that I do have a rank 3 6-star Guardian myself, which is a champion that I do like, but I must admit that I occasionally do neglect him a bit more often than I should, because I definitely could have been using him more than I have been, and you know, I just want to make that perfectly clear. I do have a rank 3 Guardian, and I haven't been using him all that frequently, and often it is my fault because I just forget some of the Guardian's abilities, like for instance the fact that he has Taunt on his level 1, which can be extremely useful. Now this might present us with a problem, because Angela does have that armor break, which can be quite frustrating for Guardian, because several of his abilities do cease to work if you do not have an armor effect, and obviously you can't use your level 2 for big bursts of damage, but he patiently waited for that armor up to come back and then throw his. Another way to get around it is by throwing a heavy attack, and that gives you a temporary armor up. And now Guardian against Havoc, which is also quite an intriguing matchup. There is actually a very significant quote-unquote trap in the Havoc matchup, and that is that you have to throw your heavy attack here before you use your level 2. I actually have messed it up initially when I started playing Guardian. Ooh, that was nice parry there. I have to comment that. He has the Havoc special parry game on lock, except now they are unblockable and you don't want to parry necessarily. But the point is, against Havoc, before using level 2, you have to throw a heavy attack. Because if you're going to use your level 2 with only one armor up on, Havoc's plasmas are going to go wild during the level 2 and you'll quite possibly be nuked down. Now, the biggest downside of Havoc matchup is that all damage that you do with Guardian is always energy based, and Havoc has massive energy resistance, and unfortunately, as a side result, Havoc immediately becomes significantly tankier than he would normally seem, just because of the nature of how Guardian does dish out his damage. But here he is, I think, building up to another level 1. And let's see if he does manage to delay Havoc a bit from throwing that level 1. So, oh no. If Havoc had thrown the special attack a tiny bit later, he wouldn't have been unblockable. And then Aaron would have been able to actually parry and get that power again. But here we go. Second level 2 does finish the job. But yeah, obviously Guardian does work against Havoc and is a good matchup because he can parry projectiles, he has armor up, everything in that nature. But it is going to typically take a bit longer than some other champions might. And now we have a chunkier Professor X here to deal with. This is a 60 KPI Professor X. Again, as I mentioned, as long as Guardian does have, as long as he does have armor up active, you can parry projectiles, and that comes extremely in handy against Havoc, against Professor X, and many other champions in the game. It's always nice when champions do have that ability up their sleeve. So I do think he's not even pushing here for level 1. It's gonna be interesting to see what he does in this fight. Is he just gonna throw the level 2 with 4 charges, or is he gonna go for level 3? He's going for level 3. That's gonna give him 6 charges extra here in this case. It's gonna be interesting also to see that level 3 damage was like 27k plus something, but now he has gained another 6 permanent charges that do not have any risk of expiring, which is the way to ramp up Guardian in A, slower fights, or B, occasionally in longer fights, especially if you want to avoid recoil. A lot of people do think initially that, Guardian might not necessarily be the most friendly champion with Liquid Courage Double Edge, but I utterly disagree, because in an average fight, you only need to throw one level 1 and one level 2, and that will make you take recoil damage only once, and you actually regen that damage back at the beginning of the fight due to the fact that Guardian has a bleed resistance. Or in longer fights, you just spam level 3s and then level 2, and you don't really take recoil damage either. But I do believe that is... Oh, here is the final bit. Here's the final bit that he wanted. Okay, okay, now this is interesting. Now we're talking. He did add in a few nuclear clips to finish off. I do want to see this one again. So Winter Soldier is at 60% health, and the Guardian only has 16 synergies here. It has been a 54 hit fight. I kind of wish he included this full one. And the shocks that are ticking for like 24,000 a tick. Now he did have 28 charges, so he charged it up longer, and it was 48k. Now that definitely was some massive damage. Obviously he did take a bit of time to ramp him up, but let's take a look again against Winter Soldier. So he go from 60% to 0 and 24k shocks. That was quite sweet. That genuinely picked up the whole vibe of this video, I feel. Do you guys agree? And that only took 16 charges, so he basically probably threw only like one. He only probably threw like one level 3. 3 charges, yeah, 9. One level 3, maybe a level 1 in there, and that's about it. Either way, that will be it for the Guardian showcase. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit all the cool buttons, and I shall see you guys soon. Later. Hello there guys and welcome back to the channel. So we have all the information about the